Facebook, return on ad spend, ROAS, is it all a scam? What's going on, everybody? Ryan Melnick back here with another video. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about ROAS, return on ad spend, and whether or not it is a motherfucking scam. Before we jump into it, make sure you click the subscribe button, like the video, and most importantly, especially on this topic, comment below, fight with me, argue with me, agree with me, whatever it may be. Let me know what you think about ROAS, about this video, whether or not you agree with me or not, and I would love to talk to you about it. So let's jump right in. ROAS is a scam. Return on ad spend. Now, a lot of the people out here that claim to know a lot about Facebook advertising, a lot about this business as it relates to e-commerce and Shopify dropshipping, ultimately use ROAS, return on ad spend, as their main source of data analytics and analyzation in an ad set. That is incorrect. Not the right way to do it. There's a lot of different ways that we can analyze an ad set. ROAS is a great secondary tool that we can use to analyze an ad set and decide whether we want to keep, kill, or scale it, right? But ultimately is not the end all be all. And that is what these influencers and these teachers and whatever gurus are actually teaching, is that ROAS is the end all be all. It is not. And let me show you why. Okay, so real quickly, return on ad spend. Basically that means, what ROAS means, if you spend $100 in Facebook and you get, let's say you're selling a product for $50 and you get 10 sales. So you do 500 in sales and you spent $100 on Facebook. That would be a 5 times ROAS, because 100 times 5 equals 500, okay? So you spent $100 on Facebook and you got back 500 in sales. 500 divided by 100 equals 5, or 5 times $100 you spent on Facebook. It is the return on the ad spend that you spent. Okay, so that is what return on ad spend is. Now, what is the biggest issue with return on ad spend? Why am I saying it's a scam, right? No, this is not clickbait. I actually want to talk about a legitimate, serious issue that people are talking about in the perception of what ROAS is and why it's an issue, okay? No, ROAS is not a scam. It's not, there's nothing really wrong with evaluating your ad sets based on ROAS, but if you're using it as the end-all be-all tool, that is a massive problem. Why? The biggest issue is it does not account for other expenses. One of the main expenses, costs of goods sold, okay? So as you may know, if you're just looking at your ROAS, right, your return on ad spend, you wanna always be above 2 times ROAS, because if you spend $100 on Facebook, you wanna be able to get $200 in sales, right? Just naturally speaking, like you never wanna be below that. Most people talk about how 2.5 times ROAS is really the baseline of where you wanna be at, where you can start being profitable. A lot of people love to talk about how they thrive around 3 times ROAS, and they can be 4, 5, 6 times ROAS and have massive profits and do really well in this business. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And so what I like to say is, with my students, I like to say you've potentially found a winner if you're above 3 times ROAS, but that's really a secondary piece of data after we've looked at other things, okay? And so let me show you an example where you can be massively profitable when it comes to return on ad spend in your ROAS, but not really all that profitable based on the actual numbers. Here's an example. Let's say you're selling a product for $50 and you're getting the product for, I don't know, $22, right? So you're getting it for $22 and you're selling it for $50, okay? That leaves a $28 gross margin, which is pretty good for your cost to acquire a customer, right? So $22 you're paying for the product, shipped to the customer, $50 is what you're selling it for, okay? So let's just use that example. Let's say that in one day goes by, it's a Monday, you do 10 sales, right? So let's just base numbers, 10. So you pull in $500 in revenue. $500 in revenue. What did that cost you? Okay, doesn't matter, right? Because we're not looking at the cost of goods sold. The cost of goods sold goes to the side. Because in ROAS, when you're looking at return on ad spend, when you're looking in Facebook, the cost of goods sold doesn't matter, okay? So you got $500 in sales, you've sold 10 of them, right? But let's say you spent, I don't know, $100, right? So you spent $100, okay? You got $500 in sales. So 500 minus 100 would mean that you're making a gross profit of $400, right? That's really good. And you're like, oh, heck yeah, like that's like 80% profit margins. That's amazing. I'm great, right? So that would mean 5 times ROAS. In Facebook, it would say 5 times return on ad spend. Yes, that is very good. Like I said before, 2.5 is really, you don't want to get, if you're below 2, you're in a bad place. You're probably break even or less. standardly speaking, right? Just like secondary data. We always want to be above 2.5, but really 3 times ROAS and above is where we want to be. That's what everybody says. Well, you're 5 times ROAS. Wow, you're super profitable. But when you actually look at it, 500 minus 100 is 400. Well, let's not forget about the cost of goods sold to the side here. $22 every time you sold one. So that's an extra $220, right? Take that $220 and subtract that. So 400 minus 220. Now you're only making $180, right, in profit. So while that's still not bad, because if you do the numbers on that, that's something like, I don't know, 100 would be 20%. So you're making something like 24, 25%, which is still good. That's a good example, okay? Think about the fact that if you were paying $25 for the product, right, and you spent $200 on Facebook, right, $500 in sales, you spent $200. That would be 2.5 times ROAS, right? So 2.5 times ROAS, you're like, okay, that's good. That's about the standard. That's where I need to be. 2.5 times ROAS. 500, you spent $250 on Facebook. You have a $250 net profit, but then you spent $220 in your cost of goods sold because it's $22 per one you sold, and you sold 10 of them. That's $220. So you have a $250 gross profit because you spent $250 on Facebook, even though you have 2.5 times ROAS, and that's a good place to be. You have $250 left as your gross profit, minus your cost of goods sold of $220, you only made $30 in profit. You tell me, what happens if two people want a new one or want a return? That's $44. You're in the red. You're not making money anymore. So, well, it's not really an extreme example. While extreme examples would be that you're not profitable or you're break even, I have seen it multiple times where I go into their ads manager, I'm like, did you do math on this? What it comes down to is I'm not saying ROAS is actually a scam. That's more of a headline to catch your attention, but it brings up a very important point. ROAS is not the end all be all. You want to look at 2 things that are way more important than ROAS. ROAS is a piece of secondary data you look at after these 2 things. What are those? The 2 things you should focus on. BEP and profit point. So BEP is your break-even point. It's the first thing I like to talk about. Let's use the same exact example, okay? So you're selling the product for $50, right? And you're getting it for $22, right? So 50 minus $22, $28, right? I just did the math in my head right there. $28 is your break-even point. Because if you spend $28 in your cost to acquire a customer, you make $0, which is even, break even, right? Because it's $22 for the product, they're paying you 50 minus 22, at least $28. So that's your break-even point, right? And then you have your profit point. So let's say, it depends on the person, I'm not gonna set a standard, but a lot of times people like to say, okay, I wanna make $5 at least, $5 every single time I sell one. So let's say your break-even point is $28, like we just said, and you wanna make $5 in profit each one. You would do 28 minus 5, that would be $23. So your profit point would be $23, and your break-even point would be $28, okay? So the way we would evaluate our KPIs, then we look at our ad sets, forget return on ad spend for a second here. The way we would look at we would look at the cost per purchase, right? You say, okay, our cost per purchase in this ad set is $20. Okay, our profit point is $23. So that's below our profit point. So we're making $8. Good. It's below our profit point, right where we need to be. We're in the green, right? Let's say you look at another ad set and it's $24, okay? 23, break-even point's 28. That's in the yellow range, okay? That's like that's a yellow flag, a sketchy business right in there. Now let's say you look at another ad set and it's $31. $28 your break-even point, you're losing $3 every time you sell one on that ad set, right? Because you're at $31 and your break-even point was 28. Okay, that ultimately is going to be a much better tell for how much money you're actually making, how much profit you're actually pulling in than ROAS is. ROAS is a great tool, and it's a great secondary source that you can use outside of break-even point and profit point, okay? So those are what I want you to focus on, guys. ROAS is not a scam, but it kind of is also if that's the only thing that you're looking at. So make sure that you're evaluating all pieces of data and focusing on your break-even point and your profit point to evaluate what your profit is and understand and really recognize and evaluate whether you want to kill, keep, or scale something based off of that. But that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. ROAS is a scam, not a scam, whatever you want to believe. I just think it's a good tool, but it's a secondary tool, not a main primary source like everybody talks about it being. So comment below. Let me know what you think about ROAS. Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? Do you think it's the same thing, like a good tool to use on the side of other things? Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video.